And this is also a question to you. At what point of developing a song do you sort of realise, no, this is a Dave song and this is a Martin song? Does it always happen before you go in the studio, or does it often change in the studio?
Not really. I mean, I think it's on this album, you know, so Dave said he particularly didn't want to sing Comatose, not because he didn't like it, but he couldn't get a vibe on it as such. I don't know if that's the right word. Yeah. And Breathe, I think Mark Bell felt that the demo with Martin's voice on it, suited it nicely, you know. Yeah. So, and I think it's nice that, and it's good for Dave as well, although he's the singer of the band, to allow Martin to sing a couple of songs on the thing, because he could insist, no, I'm the singer, I'm going to sing them all. Yeah. But I think it makes the Depeche Mode's album a bit more different, and, you know, with a different voice coming in.
Yes, sort of mixing up the working areas somehow, sort of not saying you are that and you are that, and that stays like that forever. That's true, yeah. And we're going to look at another video, Enjoy the Silence, and I have to dedicate it to one of your greatest fans, Michael Maurer. That goes out to you. Yes. I had to do it, otherwise he'll kill me. Und zurück bei Fast Forward mit den tollen Depeche Mode bei mir in der Sendung. On the one hand, Depeche Mode always created really big, great pop songs, and on the other hand, Depeche Mode was always very experimental and had sort of great musical visions. Are those two aspects that are difficult to combine for you? Or does it just happen?
I think we really try and push ourselves with every record. Yeah. And, you know, I think we would just give up if we felt that, you know, we were just relying on some retro past, you know, and we're going out playing hits that were important once, but, you know, and fans still love to hear them, but no one really wants to hear the new records. Yeah. So we really do try and experiment and push ourselves, but we still do make conventional pop music somehow as well. Yeah, we do combine those things. Yeah.
But is it sort of a thing that you think about, or does it sort of happen, just come out? And
I think it's, you know, again, I think where music's lacking at the moment, I think when we started in the 80s, you know, although you might think a lot of it looked funny and, you know, and everything, but at least everyone was trying to be different or do something different. Yeah. And I think there's a bit of lack of that at the moment, so we always tried to be different from the next band. Yeah.
Instead of now, sort of lots of bands are trying to be exactly the same like others and sort of looking better only, or things like that, sort of really stupid. And so 2 months ago, I had the honour to interview Daniel Miller on the show, and we talked about this unbelievably special relationship between Depeche Mode and Mute Records. I mean, would you say that it's sort of, how come that this relationship is so special? Why have you always stayed there?
Well, I think a lot of that is to do with Daniel.
Yeah.
And, you know, a sense of loyalty to him, and he has that goes both ways, and he's always been really supportive of whatever we want to do. You know, we've had our fights in the past over stuff, but basically Daniel, you know, is one of the very few who still believes in the ethic of, you know, independent music and alternative music, and the idea behind that.
So letting people be creative.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at all the sort of different artists that are on Mute, they're so diverse and so different. There isn't like one sort of area there where it's just like all this kind of music or all that kind of music. It's just right across the board. And, you know, he comes as well, like us, from that time when, you know, when we grew up as teenagers, like punk music was around, and it was all about sort of trying to do it yourself in your own way,
with cheap instruments,
with whatever you could
afford,
with whatever you could do. And you know, I think that's how Mute began as well. You know.
Do you follow sort of the new artists on Mute, sort of like Adenta X and Goldfrapp, and are you interested in things like that?
I really like the Goldfrapp records. Yeah.
So that unbelievable sort of soundtrack music.
When I first Daniel sent it to me and I played it, and then I was talking to him on the phone a little while afterwards, and I said, so, you know, which part of Austria are they from? You know, and, you know, and just guessing, and he was like, actually, you know, they're not at all, and then we started talking about the instrumentation, and again, I think what's really interesting about that music, first of all, is just the beauty in her voice, but secondly, that the sounds don't necessarily come from where you think they're coming from. And, you know, it's just that use of, like, especially some of the electronics that I hear on that album that they're using in a conventional way, like through amplifiers, and apparently they do that live a lot. They play a lot of the synthesizers and stuff, old analog synthesizers, through amplifiers and stuff, and you can hear it. There's some really interesting sounds. And the new Nick Cave album I really like as well. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking funny. I mean, I get these. I get all the new releases sent through, so I might get 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And I think even though I don't like every one of them, I can still relate to the fact that it's at least different.
Yeah.
You know, and it's alternative.
Yeah.
To what's around on the mainstream.
And something new.
Yeah, exactly.
Somehow, no matter if you like it or not, it's true.
The great thing about Daniel as well, is without having a whole show about Daniel Miller, is the fact that he still is a music fan. Yeah. You know, he's been going to Berlin once a month to do a radio show. It's called Daniel Miller's Happy Hour, and he plays just the weirdest stuff, weirdest set of music that you can imagine. But somehow it works. I mean, you know that Daniel was really into all of that stuff.
Yes.
I mean, he sifts through loads and loads of music just to, you know, get an hour every month.
Yeah. I sort of had the impression also that he didn't really like giving interviews that much, but as soon as he's allowed to sort of talk about his bands that he loved so much, it's sort of, he has this shining in his eyes. It's brilliant.
He's got a very big ego, don't worry.
Okay, I'm not. Okay, and you were also sort of great pioneers in the remix culture, I would say. And so what was the idea behind it? So years ago, when you had songs remixed, was it sort of to give artists a chance to pick out other aspects of a song?
Not really. It started off for commercial reasons, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, well, you know, you had to release a 12-inch and things like that, and you couldn't just repeat what you already did, you know, and then it's developed into this more interesting thing of people we like. I mean, we met these guys in New York, you know, and we liked what they were doing, and then we started doing it, you know.
What they're doing.
Yeah, and you know, it's nice, you know, just give it a go, you know, see what you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't even have a record released at the time, you know. I think they made a few copies of an album, you know, just for themselves really, and just to distribute to a few friends, and they did a remix for us. So that's, you know, that's nice.
But, you know, I think, you know, it's interesting because again, even the remixes, what's nice is, like, Martin might like one of them a lot, and I might not like it, or Dave might like that one.
But then you've got other ones.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Like.
It's not that, you know, sometimes you don't like every one.
Yeah.
You know. But again, at least
they hate them, then we don't put them out.
Yeah.
That would be stupid.
The beauty of it is, as well, is you know, once again, like with our music, I think it works really well in that form. You know, you could see, it always gives me ideas, if anything. The best thing that comes out of it for me is that it shows me how in different directions that, once again, like Martin's songs, or even sometimes the things they do to my voice, even though sometimes I hate it, what they do, when it's over-processed and stuff. But or it's like, what I really hate about them is, and it's just my personal thing, is like when it's like the song, like the actual, and sometimes it's just, it really is in that form. That's you got to listen to it in a completely different way. That's the challenge. You know, it isn't the song anymore.
Yeah.
It's somebody else's interpretation of the song, and they're adding to it and taking away the things that they don't like about it. You know,
that you maybe thought were the best.
You get a little precious sometimes, you know, especially when you've just finished an album and you know.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll watch the next video. It's called A Heart from Depeche Mode.
Oh my God.
Oh no, you never told us you were going to play that one.
Yes, well, sorry.